Hello there, Jaime Kalman Chipko here, and thank you for watching Jaime Magic. And in this episode, I want to give my parents out there some support for when they feel their anger and their stress and their overwhelm getting triggered, especially when they're trying to get their child out the door. Maybe you're trying to get them to school and, things aren't working. So, whenever you start to butt heads with your child, okay, whether they're a toddler or they are a preschooler or they are in elementary school, middle school, or high school, the thing to keep in mind is that there are a couple of things happening. Okay, so for one, you've got your goal as a parent, right? Which is to get out the door on time. Maybe you have to get your child to school on time. Maybe you need to get other children dropped off. Maybe you need to be at work on time. Whatever it is, you have a goal, and your goal is to be on time, right? Now, when you check in with your child and they're not ready to go, you may feel some emotions come up, right? Maybe you feel triggered. Maybe your anxiety gets triggered because you're like, oh God, we're going to be late. I'm going to look like a bad parent. I'm going to look disorganized. They're going to be late. They're going to get in trouble. You might be worried about that. You might be worried about how it's going to affect you and your day, right? So a lot of things can get triggered in that moment. But I think the one thing that we definitely all feel in that moment is stress. Okay, so I'm just going to refer to this as stress. So with my child, at the time of this video, my child is in the third grade. And what's interesting about age 9 is that it's a really interesting age because you can reason with them. They're good at negotiating. They are also going through changes where they're becoming more self-conscious. Some of them are wanting more autonomy and independence, and some of them, depending on your child's personality, might not quite be that excited or ready to grow up into a bigger kid and might still be holding on to, a little bit of baby still. So it's an interesting age. And what I find sometimes is that when I get stressed and I'm met with a conflict with my daughter, and I can feel that conflict starting to happen because I have a goal and she has a goal, and those goals are not congruent. They're not in alignment, right? And so conflict is really that. You've got two people with two different perspectives, two different point of views, two different goals, and those goals are in conflict with each other. The human beings behind the goals are not in conflict with each other, though. That's what we need to remember, that we are still on the same team. We're still connected. We still love each other, and we still want the best for each other. But our goals are not on the same page at the moment. So when I used to get really triggered with, when my daughter would not be ready on time, and then I would be like, oh my God, we got to go. And I'd be so stressed. I realized that wasn't helping because I have a really highly sensitive child. And so actually, when I start to push, or if anybody starts to put time limits on her, pressure, it just makes her more flustered. And I'm the same way, so I completely understand and I can relate to that. And if you can relate to that, please use that in your parenting, because if you can relate to your child, it really does help if you share that with them, to say, hey, you know what, Jack? Gosh, when people rush me, I just shut down and I just can't, all of a sudden I can't even think of what I need to be doing right now, right? I just I'm so aware that I'm making you mad and that we're running late, and then I'm all emotional and I can't think straight. So what helps me is to just take a deep breath, calm down, and, just refocus, recenter. Do you want to try that with me? That might be an approach that you can try. So, but the point is, it really does help if you can relate to your child and say, you know what? I can imagine how you might be feeling right now as I am stressing. It might be making you more stressed out. So I want us to help each other get out the door on time. It's important to me that we're on time. That's my goal. What is it that you need right now? How can I help you be ready? So sometimes you need to, get down to their level and connect with them and just ask, like, I'm curious. Uh, we need to leave at 8 o'clock, and it's 8 o'clock, and I thought you were ready to go, but you're still playing with the Legos. Um, what's happening? What's going on? You know, um, so instead of yelling at them and, come on, let's go from like the other room, if you have a child that tends to move a little bit more slowly in the morning, who's not that excited to get out the door, you might find that all the yelling and rushing them is actually going to backfire. They might shut down. They might become, more obstinate. They might become more oppositional. And so it's worthwhile to find out what is going on for them. And, my rule of thumb is always this: as soon as I have a critical thought or I begin to feel critical of myself or another person, the first thing that I do is I notice the criticism. Okay? So I notice the critical thought of, she should be ready on time, right? And then that critical thought is going to create a critical energy in my body. That's not going to connect me with my child in that moment. It's not going to help me towards my goal at all. So what I need to do is I need to shift my goal away from getting out the door on time. I need to refocus my goal actually into connecting with my child, because as we connect, we'll be able to understand what we need. And the energy that I'm bringing to that moment is a lot more calm, it's more connected, and we can be more creative about how to move forward. So the way that I do that is I notice the critical thought, and then I go into my next C word, which would be curious. I step into curiosity. And notice in my example, I even said, I'm curious. It's 8 a.m. and I thought that you were ready to go. What's happening? I'm curious. I'm curious. Where are your shoes? So I hope that idea of catching yourself in the critical and then shifting into the curious, like, I wonder what's going on here that you're not ready to go. How can I help? I'm curious what's happening. That might open a door for you to walk through and meet your child halfway. Now, at that point, if your child is like, playing on the floor, not even dressed, I can see that would make you even more stressed, because now you're looking at the time thinking, oh my God, we're definitely going to be late. So anger might get triggered. All these feelings of this isn't fair, this isn't right. Now, it's very tempting to unload that in the moment, because sometimes we think as parents that consequences are really great, teachers, like, oh, we're late, you're going to pay the consequence for being late. And sometimes we think like that, yeah, that natural consequence is a great teaching method. And, perhaps it is. But what I've been finding with my child is actually we can choose our responses to certain moments. So I'm not as interested in her learning from a negative consequence as I am personally her learning how to move through her resistance and any other difficult emotions or challenges she might come up against. So I'm really trying to use the stress that comes up in our daily life naturally as, an opportunity to practice teaching her, how can we work together to get organized better tomorrow? How can we try again next time so that you're dressed before this time, so we don't have to be rushing, we don't have to be racing out the door, we don't have to be late, right? How would you like to feel next time? When we go to school, would you like to feel more clear and calm and prepared? Maybe we should do some of this work in, the night before, laying out clothes the night before and packing the backpack the night before. Maybe I can get up a few minutes earlier so that I'm not racing as much, and maybe I can help you when you get stuck, right? So it depends on how old your child is as well. But the takeaway that I want to leave you with today is this: when you catch yourself being stressed, just notice the stress and know that it's okay that you're stressed, because you're human and you have goals, and your goals are being thwarted, right, by this tiny dictator. The thing is that connection is the greatest way to create any kind of correction in your day. Because when you're curious about what might be behind your child's behavior, rather than just assuming that you know or critical of their behavior, that curiosity opens up this really wonderful energy and a brand new space where you can really connect and find out what's happening and how to do better next time. So I hope that this relieves a little bit of pressure from you to get it right. And look, there are days where you can take as much time as you need to work through these things. There are other days where you just got to go. And I always tell my clients and the moms in my mom support group, I always tell them, look, if you can be a conscious, connected parent, curious and compassionate 10 to 20% of the time, you are actually ahead of the game. It's not about doing this perfectly 100% of the time. That's not really practical. It's not about being perfect, but it is about practicing. And, that's what parenting gives us a chance to do. Practice a lot. So until next time, I hope that you enjoy practicing moving out of your critical mind and into your curious mind so that you can connect with your child and cooperate on how you can help each other reach your goals. Okay? So if your goal is to get out the door on time and your child's is too, that can be a great way to get on the same team and make a plan for next time. All right. Until next time, I will see you. My name is Jaime Kalman Chipko, and I look forward to seeing you on another episode of Jaime Magic. Talk soon. Bye-bye.